Okay, we're gonna run that from the top real quick.
On 4.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Stay right there. This is the last one. Won't you have to see these songs of freedom is all I ever had. Redemption song. Back to the beginning. Nancy pictures of mental state. Silver on your mind. Right there you go. Have no fear for looking. I'm sorry, I got the lyrics messed up. Maybe 2 more.
Go from that G right there.
This one right here?
Or you want to take it from the top?
That's good. Let's do it from right there.
Alright,
I think I'm around there. 1, 2, 3, 4.
My fault.
That's all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch on this one. Time on the G. Redemption song. Nancy pictures sounds from mental state. Free our minds. Then you can go to the outro like.
I'm gonna learn that song.
That's fun, man. That's a good job, Ken. That went by really fast.
Yeah, man. I'm really just trying to get the conversation because I got a live interaction with you, so
right.
I'm Skyping you when you ain't there. So
right.
I'm like, so I'm really conversating with.
No, I feel you.
But okay, now, just on your regular up-tempo songs now, because I see a lot of people, moving all down, the fretboard, and like you're saying, there's different G's here and different chords in different positions of the guitar. I see up here, see here, and see there. But as I've been playing some of these songs, I'm noticing now, do they all have just like those same kind of general chords like most of your pop songs and stuff like that?
Absolutely. With pop songs and with rock songs, what it really comes from, a lot of it goes back to blues music. You know what I mean? Like the rock and pop. James Brown really invented modern pop, like the rhythm of it, and just the idea of taking less emphasis from the lyrics and putting more emphasis on the rhythm and the beat, even with the lyrics. So there's a lot to that. But what it really comes down to is we tend to think of songs and what chords they are, like what letters, right? Like the song is in G and D and E and C.
Right. But
there's a different way to think of it. I'll show you what I mean. And once you get this way, then you really see. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick that. Then you really start to see this pattern. You know what I mean? Because let's look at Like let's redemption song, because that's what we did so far, right? Like redemption songs got 4 chords. If we look at just the first part, it's got 4 chords: G, E minor, C, and A minor, right? But the key of the song is in G. And why is that? That's because well, let's just write this first. This is the G major scale. What it means to be in key is that all the notes from a song or a piece of music come from a particular scale.
Okay.
And in this case, that's the G major scale. Now, the G major scale is just the letters, the notes G, A, because that comes next in the alphabet, B, I'm writing these too big, C, D, E, and F sharp, and then back to G, but I'm not going to write another G, because we already got a G.
Now,
that makes sense so far?
Okay, so how many? So it's what? 1, 2, 3. What is 7?
7 notes, exactly.
7 notes. Yep. So what are those 7 notes called? Like what?
That's the scale, and that's a good point that you noticed how many notes it was, because if you think about it, there's 12 notes total, right? So if we got 7 notes, that means we subtracted 5 notes.
Yeah. And
what that means is we've got 7 notes that sound good with each other. These notes are all in harmony with each other. Those other 5 notes, if you play them with these notes, they're going to sound bad. They're going to make jarring. And then that's got to do with the length of waves or whatever. But it's just good enough to say that these are all notes that sound good together, and we took out the notes that sounded bad. And there's only 12 notes that exist. I mean, they got notes in different octaves, repeats of the same note. Like that's a C note, that's a C note, that's a C note. But they're all really the same notes, like smaller versions of the same notes. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
So what it means to be in key is that means that you're only using notes from a certain scale, and this is a G major scale because that's the first letter, and you're only using notes from that. So even when we play the G chord, those are notes that came from the scale. Like the G chord, the first chord in Redemption Song, the song we're talking about, uses the first, the third, and the fifth notes of the scale. And if you play those notes together, you got a G chord. So you just made your first chord. Where the rest of the chords come from is the same exact way. If you start from the second note, now you're gonna have some kind of A chord because that's the note you're starting with, even though it's from the G scale. You play the first.
It'll be C and D, C and E.
C and E, exactly. You got it. You got it.
Oh wow!
Nobody ever counted on to that fast. And now you would think that would be another major chord because this is a G major scale, but no, it's not. This actually happens to be a minor chord, right? So I'll put a little M next to that for minor. If we follow the same process with every single note, we end up with a certain set of chords. The next chord will also be minor, and that would be B, D, and we skip around G.
Now let me ask you this: what would make it minor? When you say to make it minor, why would that make it minor?
Basically, what makes it minor is the distance of the notes, right? So I'll play it on the piano because it's easier to see on the piano, right?
Okay.
So the G major scale is this: G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Because the black keys are the sharps and the white keys are the regular letters, right? Now, where I got those certain number of keys is all about the distances between the notes. If we go 2 notes, right? If we start on G and we go 1, 2 notes, that's a whole step. So on guitar, that would be 2 frets. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If we go 1 note, that's a half step. Now, the major scale, no matter where you start it from, is a certain number of steps and half steps. It's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Right? So that's how we figure out in whatever key how many sharps there are, because every key's got a different number of sharps. If you start on the C note, you go whole, whole, half, because
no black key in between there,
right? Exactly.
Now, which key is that starting off right there? The one that starts it back over, is that
the 2 that don't have black keys are B and E.
Okay, B and E. So E and F.
That was a good observation.
And B and C don't have a. So the B and C and the E and F
are just right next to each other, just so like
those
right
half steps.
Half step, exactly, man. You're smart, dude, man. I showed this to a lot of people. Bro. I never saw anybody catch on like that fast, because that's exactly why that particular key doesn't have any sharps in it. When you go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which is the major scale formula, because like you said, the B doesn't have a sharp and E doesn't have a sharp. So if you start from C and you go whole step, D, whole step, E, half step, F, whole step, G, whole step, A, whole step, B, half step, you're back on C.
Back on C.
So the key of C major is the only key that you can play the major scale in, which is the scale that every other scale and everything is based on, the major scale. It's the only key you can play it in and only hit white keys. That's the major scale, right? Any other key will have a certain number of black keys, a certain number of sharps, and that's how you can tell what key you're in, by how many sharps it has. That's called the key signature, right? So, for instance, the key of G, like we're doing right now, has one sharp. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now you would think the next key after C would be D, but it's not. It's G, because that's the key that has one sharp. The next key will be whatever key has two sharps, which will happen to be D, D, E, F sharp, same as last time. G, A, B, C sharp, D. I didn't mean to go that far into the key signatures thing, though.
So now, okay, so if somebody said, okay, they playing in the key of G, all right, we in G, so we know the B and the D, you know, makes up that G.
Right, and also these other chords too. So we'll end up with a C major, D major, E minor, and an F sharp minor. These are all the chords that you make if you make the chords out of the key of G. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, that's good stuff.
Did that answer it?
Okay, all right. Oh, okay.
You see what I mean?
Now, why is it A minor and is that B minor?
Yep. All the ones with M's are minor. And
but I thought it was only the half. Well, this may not have anything to do with the half step in between the B and the C and the E and
it does. It does.
But you got A over here as a minor, where over there you got E minor and F
sharp minor.
Yeah, F sharp minor.
Exactly. And the reason why that was what I wondered too. When you do this, it's like, well, why do we end up with minor chords when we're playing a major scale, right? Is that what you mean? And it just so happens because, like you said, the number of whole steps and half steps.
You got somebody else coming in?
I do, but that's not them. They're not going to be here for a bit. So where were we? Oh yeah, it just so happens because that it just I feel like I don't want to waste too much of your time.
Yeah. No, I want. Well, I'm just saying, if somebody say okay, if they say okay, we're gonna be playing in the key of G, so should I be looking for like, okay, the note's gonna normally walk down from like G, A, C, gonna go down the progression ladder,
right?
As I'm playing with them, you know, how do I know what chords to? What does that mean to me?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that was the original reason why I wanted to start talking about this, because I think this will explain that. So now in this key, if we don't look at the letters, and instead of looking at the letters, we number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means your one chord is your root chord, in this case a G major.
Right.
But if we were in the key of C, it would be a C major. If we were in the key of D, it would be a D major. And then all the other letters would change according to that letter.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So if we look at Redemption Song, it's playing a 1 chord and then a 6 chord, and then a 4 chord and a 2 chord.
Right.
So that progression is a 1, 6, 4, 2. There's certain and that goes back to what you were saying about how you see the same patterns in different songs. So even when the letters are different, you really see they're really the same exact pattern. The most common chord pattern you'll see is a 1, 4, 5, and you're going to hear that a lot the more you start jamming with people.
Yeah, right. Because this other song, this Brown Eye did a GCD.
That's a 1, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got it. And that goes back to the blues, because that's like this kind of thing. That's a 1. That's a 4. That's a 1 again. That's a 5. And then a 4, so they're in different orders, but it's a 1, 4, 5. Now that in Brown Eyed Girl, they turned that into a rock song and went. Hey, where did we go?
Right.
Days when the days go in, but that's really. Hey, where did we go? Days when the. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they really mean. They literally took rock and roll was just blues music. You know what I mean? People just did blues music. And made, like you got like the Rolling Stones, they listen to Muddy Waters. Now Rolling Stones, their big song was Satisfaction, right? Can't get no satisfaction. Muddy Waters, his big song, it was awesome, was I Can't Be Satisfied. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, I can't never be satisfied. Now it's not exact rip-off, but you could tell it was directly inspired from that.
Right.
You know?
I like that.
I didn't mean to go that far into that. is 3 notes, right? The notes in a G chord are G, B, and D. I'll write those down so we can keep them in our mind.
Okay.
And so let's see what notes we're playing in either G chord, and we'll see the difference. So there's a G note, there's a B note, and here's another D note. So there's the 3 notes that we need for the G chord, right? So then what are these other 3 notes we're playing? This is a G note, this is a B note if we play it open, and this is another G note if we play that, right? So it's still, though, we've got repeats of notes in different octaves, but we still got G, B, and D, right?
Right.
Now, if we change this B note right here to this note, like in that chord that you're talking about, what we're playing is another D note instead of another B note. But we still, again, we only got G, B, and D. That's why they're both G majors, both equally correct. Not real huge difference in the sound of them. I mean, it's just really a matter of personal preference, you know what I mean? Because they're both...
Okay, now this is which one? Now this is the phrasing too. Okay.
This is the phrasing for the intro, which is also the outro. It's also the very end of the song. So it's the very beginning of the song, very end of the song. And you've already got the right notes.
Okay.
One last real quick thing though. You know what that is right there? All those notes at the same time?
Yeah. So you go into a G major chord?
Exactly. That's all it is. Just because so that's why, because that's hard to read when I write them like that, because they're all on top of each other. But that's exactly right. So that last, well, I'll just do the whole thing from the top. So
all right.
This is the first one. Second one. Third one. And the last one. So all those together will be like... That also serves for the end of the song too, you know.
Okay. All right.
You want to try that one more time? Because you did all those correctly. You had the right notes. There it goes. Yep.
Okay. So make sure I got that rhythm. Cause I have to look back on it. So we're gonna go.
I'm gonna turn your camera just a hair.
All right.
Okay.
Wait. 3.
Remember, you got to come back to the 3.
Right.
There you go. There you go. That's it. Try that again.
There we go.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, the idea. One
more time. Here we go. Then we gonna
take as many as you want. Excellent. That was it.
All right. I got it.